This or that. Choices I had to make my whole life. Hello Booktube, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Marilyn, and today I'm doing the this or that tag. And this tag was created for People April by Roz at Scaladaddling Around the Books, or Book, and Elizabeth from Bookins and Books, who are hosting People April this year. And the this or that tag has been done a lot. So I thought I would get into the action before April is over. So we have 10 prompts. I'm going to go through them pretty fast. Some of them don't apply to me, but I'll tell you why. So let's start. Number 1, big, fat, and detailed biographies, or short and succinct biographies. I should read more biographies than I do. I don't read many biographies, but since I think I've read a few biographies since I joined Booktube, and the one that sticks out in my mind, I'll have here. I don't have it with me right now, and it's The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. And this was a fascinating book, a very important book, and it deals with so many issues that we deal with today, but back in 1950s, it wasn't an issue, and that's kind of what happened. So let me just tell you a little bit about it. So Henrietta Lacks was a poor black woman living, I think, in Baltimore, and the only hospital that would accept black people at that time, African Americans, was Johns Hopkins University. And she went there because she had pain, and it turned out that she had cancer. And it was in a very advanced stage, and they didn't have treatments. They had no pap smear. She had cervical cancer, and they had no pap smears. They had no treatment. Basically, they had nothing for her. And on top of that, they took cells from her without her permission or knowledge. Now, it wasn't a law then that they couldn't do that, but this book talks about racial injustice as well as ethics in medicine, the privacy of patients. It's very thorough, and it brings us into the life of Henrietta Lacks, whose cells were studied by research doctor, and it turned out that her cells, which was named the Hella cell, was responsible for so much research and people's lives being saved, but yet she didn't get any recognition. So this book goes into her personal story, as well as what happened afterwards and how she was finally honored, and that's why her life was immortal. So I really recommend this biography, but I don't read many biographies. Okay, now, number 2, celebrity memoirs or average Joe memoirs. I really dislike celebrity memoirs in general. I've read a few celebrity memoirs of old-time celebrities that I liked, but the later ones I don't pick up. So I would say I like average Joe memoirs if they're going through something that is important. I mean, it can't be just a person who says, I got up this morning, I went to Starbucks, and then I went to work. It has to have a theme. So that's my answer to that. And I have a lot of memoirs that I'm going to show you in a minute. Number 3 is complete correspondence or selected letters. I don't like letters in general. So I don't really have a preference, but I would say selected memoirs if I had to pick one, because that would be a smaller book, and I'm more attracted to medium-sized to small books, small to medium size. 4, memoirs written when the events are fresh, or memoirs written with hindsight. I have a very strong opinion about this. I think that a memoir needs to have hindsight, or else I have written a memoir. So I can say that I could not have written my memoir right after, when I was younger, because I was too close to the situation, to the events, and I couldn't really see with enough foresight. Also, I might have written it with with bad intentions, not intentionally with bad intentions, but I might have been seeking to get even with somebody, or I might have been seeking to make myself better than I was, and I might not have been able to put humor into it and make it a real story. So I do like books that have some hindsight, and I think that all memoirs should not be written right after the events happen. Of course, there are memoirs that are timely, so I guess in that case, if it's an event that happened, say 9/11, and there are memoirs that were written right away, and then there were memoirs that were written much later. So if it's something like that, I would change my opinion. But in general, I think that a memoir needs hindsight. And those are the kind of books that I gravitate toward. So 5, gossipy memoirs, gossipy biographies or scholarly biographies. I have to say gossipy biographies, because I'm not that scholarly unless it was a subject that I'm really interested in, like the Henrietta Lacks, where we're talking about medicine. So I would say maybe a bit of both. It has to have a story that has a little gossip to it, but it has to have a topic that maybe not scholarly but important. So I hope that answers that question. 6, diaries of ordinary life or diaries of extraordinary events. I think I like ordinary life, diaries of I don't read much. I mean, when you think of diary, you think of the Diary of Anne Frank, which was ordinary person, extraordinary events. So I would say an ordinary person, if they're going to write a diary about extraordinary events. That would be my preference. Number 7, arty memoirs or sporting memoirs. Well, I have I like the thought of arty memoirs, writing, but I haven't read many. And I did have a sporty memoir, and that's Seabiscuit by Laura Hillenbrand. And I'm ashamed to say I haven't read this yet, but I heard so many wonderful things about it. So let me know in the comments. I bought it and I haven't read it. And I love animals. I don't know how I feel about horse racing, but I do love animals. So if it's an animal memoir, and that an animal biography, I think I would like that. So maybe sporty. And I do like sports and the Olympics, etc. So I would like to read something in that vein, or a dancing memoir, a dancing biography, a famous dancer. So that's arty and sporty at the same time. So yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, number 8, and I have a strong feeling about this one. Gritty autobiographical writing or inspirational autobiographical writing. I like gritty autobiographies with some inspiration at the end. So I like something that's going to really make my heart beat faster because it's gritty, but at the same time I don't want it to be just doom and gloom all the way, unless it's, well, even in the Diary of Anne Frank there was hope, there was beauty. So yeah, it was inspirational as well as gritty. So I like both. 9, sorry. Biographies of historical figures or biographies of contemporary figures. Depends on who the figure is, but I would say basically historical figures, but then I don't read many biographies of historical figures, so I'm open to either one. Okay, and 10, memoirs of happy days or memoirs of tragic days. If you look at the books I'm going to show you, it seems that they're more tragic than happy. Let me show you some of the books I have. This is a book that I haven't read yet. It's called Asylum, a survivor's flight from Nazi-occupied Vienna through wartime France. And this man, I haven't read this book yet, and it's on my TBR to read very soon. And he says, "Try to understand me," Moriz Scheyer begs the future readers of his memoir in 1944. And we do, leaving it drained but exhilarated by the description of how he roamed an unfriendly Europe stateless. With the publication of this mesmerizing book, his search for asylum might just be over. So it says that it's his account of his struggle for survival as a foreign Jew under Vichy. Vichy was a part of France that was not favorable to Jewish people at the time. It had sort of a puppet government that was really Nazi. And so largely written while still in hiding, is propelled by the royal passion of righteous anger. And Thomas Ehrman of New York University wrote that. So I sort of like survivor memoirs, and he was an art editor for one of Vienna's principal newspapers before the German invasion in 1938. Maurice Scheyer knew many of the city's great artists, from Stefan Zweig and Arthur Schnitzler to Bruno Walter. I don't know any of these people, I'm sorry. So I do want to look them up though. And was an important literary journalist in his own right. But when the vicious, brutal hands of Nazism grabbed hold of Austria, Scheyer was forced from his position and his home, as many Jews were at the time. So I'm really looking forward to reading both books that I've shown you that I haven't read yet. Another book that was two of my favorite books of the year, in different years since I've been on Booktube, also had to do with World War II. My favorite book of maybe 2 years ago, was Underground in Berlin, a young woman's extraordinary tale of survival in the heart of Nazi Germany by Marie Jalowicz Simon, which was told to her in hindsight was when she was sick. Her son recorded her. And this book was just amazing. She was a U-boater who was living in Berlin in plain sight, Jewish in plain sight, and trying to find a place to survive. And it read like a thriller, and I really recommend it. So in 1942, Marie Jalowicz, a 20-year-old Jewish Berliner, furtively resolved to do everything in her power to avoid the concentration camps. She removed her yellow star, took on an assumed identity, and disappeared into the city, and had many adventures, and horrible things happened to her too. But one thing, in the beginning, she actually took a refuge with a Nazi officer, so hoping that he wouldn't find her out. It's really an exciting, sobering look at the U-boaters in Berlin and other parts of Germany. but with a different theme, is A Train in Winter. And this is by Marilyn Moorhead, the extraordinary story of a woman, friendship and resistance in occupied France. So this is a story about non-Jews who were helping, they were teachers, students, chemists, writers, and housewives, a singer at the Paris Opera, a midwife, a dental surgeon. They distributed anti-Nazi leaflets, printed subversive newspapers, hid resistors, secreted Jews to safety, transported weapons, and conveyed clandestine messages. The youngest was a schoolgirl of 16 who scrawled "Vive for Victory" on the walls of her lycée. The eldest, a farmer's wife in her 60s. So they found solace and strength in their deep affection when they were arrested and sent to concentration camps. And I have to say first that they were treated better than the Jews were in the camp, and not many of them did survive, but with a higher rate of survival. And in 1943, like I said, they were sent to their final destination, Auschwitz. Only 49 would return to France. And there were 230 brave women. So, yeah, they didn't really survive that much better than the Jews, but they had more food, and a lot of them died. There was one woman that I remember that one woman of the 230 walked in to Auschwitz and actually died while just looking around and walking in of shock. So it's a moving, novelistic portrait, an inspiring and fascinating read, and a haunting account of bravery, friendship, and endurance. So this is really a biography. It's not a memoir. Marilyn Moorhead is an acclaimed biographer of Bertrand Russell, Martha Gellhorn, and Lucie de la Tour de Pin. Well known for her work in human rights, she was nominated for a National Book Critics Circle Award for her work of reportage, Human Cargo, A Journey Among the Refugees. So I was fascinated with this book, and I hope that you will pick it up. Okay, another book that, on a different vein, is Red Dust Road by Jackie Kay. And it's a memoir of an ordinary person. There is a moment when, as a little girl, Jackie Kay realizes that her skin is a different color from that of her beloved mom and dad. Later in life, and pregnant with her own son, she decides to trace her birth parents. On a journey full of unexpected twists, turns, and deep emotions, she discovers that inheritance is about much more than genes, that we are shaped by songs as well as by cells, and that what triumphs ultimately is love. If you like memoirs that are warmed by humor and love, read Red Dust Road. This is she was adopted by a Scottish couple with her brother, who would become her brother. I think he was from a different adoption. And she had a wonderful childhood until she started realizing that people were noticing that she was different. And she's a poet, and I really love this book. The other book I just want to mention, I did a review, a short about. It's Fragments of Isabella by Isabella Leitner and Irving Leitner, her husband. And it's a very short book about her experience in Auschwitz. And Isabella Leitner feels that each word in this book stands for 100 other words that were too painful to express. She lives in New York. I mean, I don't know if she's still alive. So I think you understand what kind of books I like to read. And I say gritty, tragic, but ultimately in some way inspirational. So I was tagged by Roz of Scaladandaling about the book, and I'm going to just tag 3 people because this tag has been going around for a long time. So I'm tagging Gina from Gina Stanier Books, Becca from Read Becca, Shannon from That's So Poe, and Priscilla from Evening Reader. I think some of these people, some of these wonderful booktubers have done this tag again in honor of People April. So let me know, have you read any of these books? And if not, can you suggest some books for me? Also, have you done this tag? And what do you think? What have you been reading for People April? Anyway, I will end this video by wishing you a wonderful week. I have a very exciting week coming up. I have a consultation tomorrow with a cardiologist, and I have some questions that my own doctor wasn't willing to answer, and that happens. Sometimes you have to really advocate for yourself. It's so important, especially in medicine, and when you think of Henrietta Lacks and what went on years ago, there's still some of women being discounted in medicine today. So I just had some questions. There's nothing terribly wrong with me, but I needed someone that was a heart doctor to answer my questions because my own doctor wasn't. So I have that going on, and it's also Passover tomorrow night. So I'm doing this early on Sunday, but it's going to be released on Tuesday. So for those of you who celebrate, happy Pesach or Passover. And for those who don't, have a wonderful week. And I will see you in my next video. Bye. Aloha.